You don't believe that one of your friends are gonna get shot. You don't believe that that stuff happens to you. That's the stuff you hear on the news, happens to someone else.
I didn't even think I'd ever see him again.
I was in my kitchen washing dishes, and my husband come back and said they told him that they had a child which they take to the hospital.
And I asked the detectives, and they said, describe your son to me. And I described him, with his glasses and all, his braces and what he was wearing. And they showed me a picture. I don't want to see that picture again.
I said, well, it could not be Brandon because Brandon is not a street child. He wouldn't be in the street. I'm always associating gunshot with problems, and I just couldn't see that happening to Brandon.
I came home at 9, and unbeknownst to me, my dad was home. And I broke curfew, I'm in trouble. So instead of him just yelling at me like usual, he takes out a newspaper and slams it in front of me. And he says, do you want to end up like this kid?
I woke up for school. My parents, they came over to me and they talked to me about a shooting that happened around the Sheepshead Bay area, and then they told me it was from my school. They put on the news. I watched, and at first I didn't figure it was anyone I knew. I thought it was just a student who went there. When I saw it was Brandon, I was a bit blown away.
The victim, 12-year-old Brandon Ragnot, just graduated from the 8th grade at Shellbank Intermediate School. He was shot in the head in an alleyway across the street from Sheepshead Bay High School.
It was an experience I don't want nobody to go through, because driving in the taxi, in the detective car, my wife and I, at one point I couldn't speak. My mouth, just dry.
When I got to the hospital, he was still in surgery. He had not come out. So, my sister and I was waiting in the waiting room, myself, my sister, and his dad. And then my other sisters came. So then we were just all there waiting for him to come out. It was a good 4 to 5 hours.
When he comes out of the operation room, all we see was a lot of needles and a lot of cords, and the head was bun up and everything like that. You could hardly make out the face because it swelled 3 times the size.
To be honest, I was a little bit numb. I said, no, this is not Brandon. No, he didn't look at him, no way, no shape or form. You seeing the kid, 13 years old, what? And I had to come to reality and say, yes, it's son.
This man, identified by neighbors as the boy's father, said he couldn't talk about it just yet. The family lives on Brigham Street, where neighbors who know the teen were baffled.
I have no idea why this would happen to him.
Police say he'd been playing handball with a friend who went home alone. Brandon took a shortcut through the alley and was found bleeding.
We started praying in the waiting room at the hospital and just asking God to just don't take his life.
And I asked him, you think he's going to make it? And he was very honest. He said, I can't tell you that. I'm going to be honest with you. I said, you ever seen something like this happen to anybody and they make it 100% or whatever? He said, I can't answer. I can't answer those questions.
The bullet went in the front from his forehead. It went straight to the back, touched his skull in the back, and then took a downward position.
And it chipped up all the bone in the brain, in the skull. So all the bone, so it chipped all the way to the back.
I admit, for the first time, I was worried. But I was praying for him.
When you hear of somebody being shot in the head, you think, okay, they're going to die. And that's what we prayed for. Just don't let him die. We just asked the good Lord, please, don't take him from us.
And he answered your prayer.
And he sure did. He answered my prayer, mine and my sister's prayer.
My friend said to me, hold his hands. And I said, no, I'm not going to touch him because I'm afraid. And Brandon heard that. And Brandon lifted his hand, literally lifted his hand. And he did like this. He opened his fingers. And when he did that, I put my hands in his hands. It was a very emotional time for me. I wanted to cry. And then he squeezed my hand. In other words, he heard everything that we were saying, the conversation in the room. He was aware.
My wife wasn't there. And, hey, Daddy. I cried. I didn't know what to say.
When I first woke up, I felt something big was on my head. I saw all these wires, and I was wondering, what happened?
I said to him, Papa, you know what's happened? He said, no, I got hurt. I said, yeah, man, you got hurt bad.
So now that the brain has suffered some trauma, the natural response of the body is swelling. And therefore, they had to take a piece of his skull out to allow for room for the brain to swell.
Well, they took out my skull and put it in my stomach so that it would heal up. And then a couple of months later, they put it back with titanium steel. Well, what I remembered, I got shot way over there. I was playing handball with my friend, and we were both saying bye to each other because he lives right near the alleyway. And I went to the alleyway, I took a right, and boom, got shot. I felt that my arm and my leg could not work, so I was just dragging myself out of the runway where the cars usually come from. And I was like screaming, saying, help, help. And then I just went into a coma.
Some neighbors heard the victim in pain.
And somebody's screaming. The guy is on the floor.
He's screaming?
Yeah, screaming 2 times.
I've never met someone that's actually gotten shot. And it scares me to think that, that he can get shot and the person can run away and never be found.
After the victim was taken to Kings County Hospital, police began searching for the gun. Neighbors who know the boy say he was always with his parents, always reading.
Very intelligent. He was family devoted.
He's a quiet boy. That's what I just said. He doesn't come out. He doesn't come out a lot.
Anyone with any information regarding this crime.
Police are asking for information. Sewer catch basins for blocks around were being searched for the weapon.
The bullet is really near my brainstem, and it's lodged in there, and nobody could take it out.
I had frequent dreams in subways and in the lunchroom of Shell Bank, which is a junior high school we went to. And in the dreams, I would meet up with him, and it would be this feeling of, hey, Brandon, you're okay, because I hadn't heard many details, so it was all left to my imagination.
It's just really scary, having a friend, a very close friend, that gets hurt in such a way that they won't be able to use one side of their body. I mean, it's painful.
So you can lift, bend. Wow. And how was it like at first?
At first, it was just lifeless. We couldn't move or anything.
He had the love of his school and his classmates, his teachers, the staff. The entire staff was just remarkable.
They gave me cards, giant cards. And I know some of them visited me when I was in the coma. And some of the teachers visited me.
We all felt a great deal of emotions when we heard that he was shot. It brought people closer together, unified to help out Brandon.
Brandon is not a person who accept defeat. So what I saw in this experience from Brandon, that he's a fighter.
He's much stronger than he was.
As soon as I woke up, they immediately tried, exercising my arm in my leg.
He was very, right off the bat, very engaging, very funny, a little goofy personality. In the beginning, he was a little shy and wary of what we were going to do, but after he started getting into the exercises, most of the time he would just complain. Good-natured complaining, but a lot of complaining. He's also the first traumatic brain injury I'd ever worked with.
Traumatic brain injury mostly means something happening in the brain. And since I had a gunshot wound, I guess that counts.
He was like a normal 14-year-old. There was nothing too different about him except the fact that he had a physical handicap, but he was fine.
I was right-handed before, now I'm left-handed, and now it is very hard to do.
Are you writing left-handed now?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You mastered it?
Of course.
Ooh, that I'd like to see.
When Brandon got shot, he was in junior high school. Immediately when the principal found out what happened, he called Brandon's mother and assured her that when this is all over, he's going to be accepted into this high school. We're waiting for him.
When I came back to this school, I had to go over what specialties that I needed. Elevator pass for 1 year. Psychological, evaluates if I'm good or not or crazy. Physical therapy, exercising my leg. Second set of textbooks, something I don't need. Speech, I can talk. Occupational therapy for my hand. I think the occupational therapy and the physical therapy I need, nothing else really.
When I first saw him, I was in the hallway walking to my next class, and I caught a quick glimpse of him as he was walking into his class, and I was shocked. I looked at him, and he kind of saw me.
I saw Chris way before he saw me. But, I was too scared to say because I thought he would forget about me. And then I never knew he remembered me.
I was just amazed that, after a year, he could get up and walk around and still be a really cool person, the same person he was when we were in middle school together.
I wondered if he would remember the stuff we did together, handball, lunchrooms, chats about anime. But he seemed to remember everything, and it just flowed naturally after that.
I noticed there was a big scar, but I didn't think he would be alive today being shot in the head. It's intense. It's crazy.
The improvement that he's made over 2 years is like night and day.
I didn't know that he was left-handed now, but was right-handed before he was shot. He just does the work.
He never complains. He never wants to have any type of special treatment, and he is an example to other students.
I do not like people to help me because I can do it on my own. If you give me something, I'll try. If I don't achieve, then I'll ask.
He's basically the same guy. He still likes to have fun. He's still into computers. He's just a great person to be around.
He's still the same character I knew.
Really, he's a kid that strives. He doesn't accept things any less than what he thinks and how they should be.
This spring, Brandon and I will be graduating from Giant Dooley High School together, and I'm pretty excited to be graduating with him and the rest of the crowd.
He was able to get homeschooled, catch up on his work, and he's going to be able to graduate with his class, as he should have.
Graduating with him again it's definitely a good feeling.
I think Brandon's future looks outstanding.
I think Brandon has a really bright future. I think what he puts his mind to, he'll do.
What I want to do is want to major in information technology and become a database administrator. In 10 years, I see myself, with a family, 2 kids, and a nice house.